Hello and welcome to the North America edition of the Top 100 LinkedIn Live panel discussions. My name is Rosalind Johnson and I'm the pleasure of hosting today's session. So thank you all for joining us. Over the next 45 minutes, I'll be talking about the methods who will list featured in Corinium's Top 100 Innovators in Data and Analytics 2022. And I'm lucky to be co-hosting. Hello and welcome to the North America edition of the Top. Bessa. So Bessa, welcome and thank you for joining me today.
Pleasure being here, Rosalind. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Would you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey into the data and analytics space?
Absolutely. It depends on where you want to start. So I'll start towards the end and then move backwards. Currently, I'm the Chief Data and Analytics Officer for the State of Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. This is definitely a newer role for me here. However, I've been both a Chief Data Officer and Chief Analytics Officer. I used to work for Mercy First, which is another healthcare, social service, human service organization. And it's definitely new in the service sector or human service sector, as well as the healthcare sector. So it's a new field as far as having the prominence of the data and analytics take a more front and center role. However, when we think about data and analytics, it's a very old field that goes all the way down to Edward Deming and even before that to computing. Each time you have numbers, you definitely want to have insights from that. So I see that as a very long journey with a very long history. It's just recently that it's become very prevalent with a mass of information that everyone's collecting. How do we make sense of all of the information that we're generating at any moment? And the amount of information that's generating is mind-boggling and is going to continue to increase over time.
Fantastic, thank you. And would you also just tell us why you think lists like the Top 100 are so important for the data and analytics community?
So number one, I think it gives visibility to the amazing men and women that work in this field, sometimes the unsung heroes in a lot of ways. We do give a lot of credence to technology, but getting value from information is a critical component. And highlighting the individuals that are out in the field doing amazing things, even changing the field, is important. In a way, it showcases the field, number one, but also gives credence to the wonderful work that's happening out there.
Perfect. And with that, I'd like to bring on our top 100. So for the audience, if you haven't yet seen who else is featured in the list, you can download your copy of the report now. It's within the event description. But now, welcome to my esteemed panel. We have Didem, Glenda, Tudor, and Minal. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining the discussion today. I would love to begin by asking each of you to just briefly give us a little bit of background about yourself. So I'll start with you, Didem. Tell us about your role and how you got into the data space.
Hello, first of all, thank you very much. It's great to be here. I'm so excited to be in this panel with all of you. So I am computer scientist. So in a way, with my education, I already been involved with data, just naturally. And I have a PhD in mechatronics. So I work with autonomous intelligence systems. And we are, as engineers working with these complex systems, have this tendency to focus on one system and that perfect that. Like we have perfect robots, we have perfect cars, we have perfect manufacturing systems and so on. But the new age, which we call it Industry 4.0. We are even saying sometimes 5.0, but requires us to make this system able to communicate with each other. And we are not good at all. We just started. So the reason why I work with data is basically to make the future intelligence autonomous systems able to talk with each other, able to share information with each other and serve us and make the world a better, more sustainable, more diverse place. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And Minal, tell us about yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Corinium, for giving me an opportunity to be here with this esteemed audience. So I'm Meenal. I head data and analytics strategy, data science, and experimentation here at Tailored Brands. I have been working with data and analytics for over 23 years now. And it has always been that traditionally I used to report into the technology organizations, but Tailored Brands is my first foray into reporting into a non-technology organization. The reason for that being is that I wanted to be closer to the business problems and then see how best we could have data address them. My motto through my career has been to drive organizations make their decisions through data. And so everything I do, everything I work towards and have my team work towards has always been as to how to enable that. With the post-COVID era, data has just been all of a sudden propelled into like of importance, like immediate importance, and it becomes our responsibility as leaders now to just become evangelists for data across the organization and see how we can help businesses solve their problems using data effectively. Thank you.
Absolutely brilliant, and thank you. Glenda, how did you get into the data space, and tell us a bit about your role?
Thanks, Rosalind. So yeah, I'm the head of data and analytics here at Thomson Reuters. So I've been here just under a year, and it's truly a global firm, which I'm finding fascinating. My background, though, is technology. So I spent about 25 years doing software development, implementations, data conversions and migrations, and support, primarily within the financial services sector. And like I said, I feel like most of the time I spent in technology, it was doing data conversion, data migration, aggregation, modeling, constantly pulling data together. So I started, probably over 10 years ago, working on lakes and trying to find better ways to do this. We weren't constantly repeating. And then eventually, about 7 years ago, I moved into the CDO role, first at TD Bank. And then I did the same kind of job in Australia at National Australia Bank with both the data governance, the analytics, and the technology platforms that underpin it, really focusing on moving to the cloud. And that's what I'm doing now at Thomson Reuters. But my big passion in this space is the ethical use of data. And of course, one of the uses is AI, but it's not just about AI ethics for me. It's a much broader ethical use of all data for different types of purposes. That's me.
Fantastic, thank you. And last but definitely not least, it's a shame that we can't see you, but I'm very glad you're able to be here. Judah, could you tell us a little bit about your role?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here. So I spent my entire career in advanced analytics, in data and in data processing. My educational background is mixed, engineering in computers and mathematics, and I have a PhD in mathematical modeling. Now, I've been very, very privileged because I had a chance to build up from ground zero many organizations, from university to industry, and always focusing on innovation, on apply innovation in industry. I have many patents and so on as a result of this work. Currently, I work in Bank of Montreal in Financial Crimes Unit as Chief Data and Advanced Analytics Officer. My area of interest here is, of course, to enhance data practices and data management, and so to advance machine learning and AI in various related fields like cybersecurity, fraud, crisis, exciting fields and very interesting, of course. I'm in banking industry, but I'm coming from exchange industry. Previously, I worked for NASDAQ in their Boston lab, machine intelligence lab, where I built, I was head of data science, building capabilities and products in machine learning and AI in a fascinating area of alternative data and trading data like options and equities. So, always looking for innovative ideas and solutions.
Brilliant. Thank you all very much. It's great to get to know you all a little bit better. Now, to really kick off the discussion, I would love to know what each of you think it takes to be a successful data leader in 2022. Does anyone have something they're really keen to jump in with, or shall I pick on someone? Okay, I'm gonna pick on you, Minal.
Absolutely. So for me, as I mentioned, right, like I think of everything as before COVID and after COVID now, just because everything has changed. So for me, a successful data leader in 2022, we need to balance the need for data and then the need for getting speed to insight. But that again is a very, very big responsibility, just because you also have to fully understand the business perspective and the problem you need to solve, and then foresee as to what that solution is actually going to be, rather than just going and jumping and just gathering data without any meaning. We also need to ensure that the data is built in such a way that users can actually interact with them very quickly without much wrangling. You give them very good or easy access. So basically democratizing the data to the extent that you can democratize it with full governance, quality, and privacy, all of them kind of put into on top of it, right? So, and then quality is something that we have to consider very heavily, just because there are such important decisions being made out of this data. We need to ensure that those decisions are right and they are right directionally. And then, of course, a lot of literacy that we have to provide to the organization, because now we are going to be giving them something they probably have not been used to. And so we have to educate them and train them and ensure that, we make use of that data in an appropriate fashion. So I think the responsibility for us has become much larger in this after COVID situation than it was before. Not trivializing what we did before, but I just believe that our roles have just enhanced now in 2022 and after. So.
Absolutely. I'm seeing lots of nods of agreement from everyone, but especially from Didem. So I'm going to hand it over to you next, Didem.
Thank you. So I talk about this, and the title of my talk, or the publications I made, is data is not data is a journey, not a destination. And I think understanding that would be a blessing for a leader. Sometimes we lose track of the bigger picture. We think that data is a trend. Obviously, so many companies in industries are benefiting from it. So now I need to, as a leader in my company, bring the data. And that is a good start to know what the others did, but it is your own journey. So you need to have really well-organized plan, data strategy. You need to know that the limitations of the data as much as the benefits of it, and build all these mechanisms around it to check the quality of it, as Minal also mentioned, to deal with the heterogeneity of the data, to understand when you need narrow data sets, to understand who to include, how to educate, upskill already existing workforce, but also bring new people also who already has this knowledge and talent on data. I see from both my work, I work with people, so many different projects from myself, and I see from the young data scientists' experiences that sometimes they got included to new teams, but there is so much difference between the knowledge and the understanding. We sometimes do not even speak the same language with the teams that we are included. So all these little details are the things which makes it a great data team, great organization, data-driven organization, or people who spend lots of money and energy for not working solutions. So these are the first few things that came to my mind, just to build on already what Minal already said, lots of them. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. And Tudor, have you got as your view similar, completely different, a little bit of both?
It's not completely different. There are similarities, of course, but looking to 2022, I mean, because, you know, a data leader in, probably you have, if you are a data leader, if you know how to be a data leader in 2021, you know how to be in 2022, but what brings 2022 different a little bit, in my opinion, are like three things. One is data and analytics. I don't think these days you can be a data leader without being a data in analytics. They are so much integrated. We as a data stewards, protectors, how you want to say it, we don't have to just provide consumer to read the data. No, we have to have always in mind the analytics. That's because the different requirements we can talk about them a lot. Another aspect, so to speak, of a good successful data leader in 2022 would be to know the major trends. To know the major trends, to monitor them, to be prepared to onboard them if they make sense for your business, of course. And I'd say the third element of being a successful data leader would be able to or to build an organization capable to enable the growth and innovation. If you are not able to adopt innovation, it's really bad, because, you know, we are lucky in data and analytics these days. You probably find the vast majority of new things. So many things are happening there. We have to be prepared to adopt them and to embrace them. So this will be my 3 points.
Brilliant. And Glenda, would you round us off?
Sure. Somewhat similar. I'd say first, strong focus on value and partnering with the CFO to prove it. And that's really important because, as Meenal said, you know, everybody is looking to do data and analytics, and you need to find a way to prioritize that work. And I think value is the key to that. The second is the ability to balance tactical and strategic and really make sure that all those shortcuts and workarounds actually do get turned off. And then the other two that might be slightly different, one is ethical use, especially and inclusive of employee data. And I know there's at least one province here in Canada that's looking at limiting the amount of monitoring that employers can do on employees, which I think is a direct result of COVID and everybody working from home. And lastly, I would say diversity and inclusion. And especially in your data scientist team, the more diverse team you have, I think the better models you get. So those would be my 4 kind of bullets for 2022.
Brilliant, thank you. It's always really interesting and good to hear how key people are to all of this. I know before I started learning about the industry from the outside, I thought, nah, it's nothing to do with people, it's all computers. But time and time again, it comes back to the human element, which is great to hear. Bessa, what's your take?
So, I mean, when I was just taking notes, and I love the part of DDAM when you mentioned data is a journey and not just a destination. I think sometimes organizations just see this North Star, but they don't really realize how long it takes to get there. And I love what Tudor said as far as, you know, thinking about what are the major trends out there. And what those trends look like. What do we need to jump on and what do we need to hold off? Because obviously there's, you know, cost benefit for each of those. And I loved what Meenal said as far as sort of data and analytics together. And obviously those are 2 things that initially were separated, but they're intertwined. Same thing, I think, also with technology, that it's a continuum. I don't see that as a separation between technology, data, analytics, that you need the groundwork to ensure that upstream everything works together. So varied professionals working very differently than we worked in the past. And Glenda, I'm with you as far as ethics. I think diversity inclusion is a really important topic, because the more diverse teams, different perspectives, obviously, you know, ensure that we're not going down the wrong path, and how the information gets used. So I think of ethics as an overall, when you think of like a house, ensuring that, you know, the security is there, but things are being kept up. So ensuring that everything is kept up the way it should. So on that note, I think I'm going to ask you I'm really interested in to hear more from you as far as what challenges do you see in the horizon? And I am going to start with Glenda because I ended up with you first.
So shockingly, I'm going to say data ethics is one of the big challenges I see and that I'm working on. And I'm talking about not just the PR where, not just the here's our principles. It's actually getting the engineering standards set and really thinking about how we've embedded ethics into our development process. So how do we instrument our model dev and model ops processes to collect the evidence points so that I can prove to customers and regulators that we actually have ethics embedded at the start and maintained throughout the life. So that I think is the big challenge that I'm working on with my team.
That's a great point. Sometimes we have, end up having unintended consequences, really great ideas without really taking a full picture. So that's a really great point. Vinal, I'm going to go to you next. As far as, what challenges do you see in this horizon? What are you currently working, that you're grappling with or hitting your head against the wall with? Share some of your ideas.
Yeah, no, absolutely. From my perspective, it has been resources, and resources in the sense that, as I said, like post-COVID, everything has just been crazy in terms of data analytics, data science, AI, ML, and getting resources and really good resources to help you with that has been very, very scarce. And so again, I come back to, where we talk about, how can we make the organization literate so that you can basically try to increase the resource bandwidth and try to address that problem in some form or fashion and, increase the value of your data scientist or increase the bandwidth of your data scientist by automatically training someone within the organization. But that has been by far like one of the larger challenges that we have. The other one is, again, from a platform standpoint. So you build a good data foundation, and then now, you basically have to you jump into that platform or help that platform become your next ML AI data science destination. And how do you design or build a modern data architecture that essentially allows you to support that growth?